Choice of a Young Voice.
Welcome to The Choice of a Young Voice. This is a series where we discuss the different choices that you and I need to make as young people in this generation. I am your host, Caroline Muche. Today we are talking about something that happens. It's very unfortunate, but we're being realistic about it. Early pregnancies, teenage pregnancies. Teenage pregnancies are happening so much here in Kenya, and we don't know what to do about it as young people. Is it that our parents are not training us well? And how do we treat those people, the ladies who get pregnant? What do we do about it? That's the question we are asking, and that's what we need to learn today. To help us understand this is Mrs. Rose Wangila. She is a nurse and she has handled so many cases and will be able to enlighten us on the things she knows and how we can avoid such pregnancies for those of us, who are not yet married, and at the same time will help us know how to treat people who are in this situation. We have a lovely audience of young men, young women who are not pregnant. And thank you for coming. Looking forward to learn. So maybe you could help us with a few statistics here. I don't know how to phrase this question. What are the statistics when it comes to teenage pregnancies in Kenya today?
Thank you. That is a very good question. Maybe let me begin by introducing myself once more. My name is Rose Wangila. I am a nurse. I've been in this field for quite some time. And I've interacted so much with the youths. And I think I'm in the right forum. And I'm happy to see you people today. And I also feel younger today. Actually, teenage pregnancy is so much on the rise. As we speak now, we stand at 18%, meaning that in 1,000 women who are pregnant today, 96 of them are teenagers. So you can see. And when we talk of teenage, is this age from around 13 to 19. But right now, because of I don't know whether it is the environment or whatever is happening, you find even a child at 9 years can become pregnant. And
Wow.
do you know that a boy child, even at 7 years, can impregnate a woman?
Wow.
Yeah. So that is where we are. We are at 18%. It's so much risen, and it's been stagnated at 18% for about 5 years now. Yeah.
Well, then, what are the causes? Why is it on the rise? Why is this on the rise? Why are there many teenagers who are getting pregnant?
I want to begin from home. We parents, I would say, have actually failed. And maybe it is because of the situation right now. You realize that a mother and a father, all of us are leaving the house to go and look for what to bring on the table in the evening. So in this case, actually, we have left our children, the parents have left their children in the hands of the maids. Maids could also be teenagers, young people who cannot lead the other young person. So parents have failed in one way or another. We don't have time with our children. Sex education also is not there. We are not beginning early enough to be taught about, or the teenagers being taught about this sexual whatever education. And the best person to do this is a parent. This should begin as early as 6 years. In fact, earlier than that. As you teach your child on, those sexual organs, you should be able to tell them that, this is what it does, this is what happens. But you see, also culture has contributed so much. We Africans have grown up knowing that there are issues that a parent would rather not to talk to their children. So culture has also contributed so much, and this has brought up a generation that actually do not have a direction. And it's because they don't have this guidance, you know, they are just doing their own things. And teenage stage is a stage of actually, let me say, confusion. You don't know whether you're an adult, you don't know whether you're still a child. You feel like you're an adult, but you're still in the hands of your parents. So usually there's a lot of conflict when it reaches around that stage. So it is because of this conflict that they try out so many things. And around this time, sexual organs have also developed. That is when you feel like, I am a woman, because you've seen some, you know, funny or good things growing up on your chest. A man, you're breaking a voice and you feel like, no, I'm now a man enough to, you know, to be let alone. So when it comes to this time, teenagers are trying out so much. They are, let me say, they want to experiment. They want to feel like they have done what they have grown. Then when this time comes, we realize that now there's so much of this teenage pregnancies. Yeah,
thank you. I hope I'm not addressing anyone here. Do we have teenagers here, by the way, in this audience? This audience usually is like 20 and above. 30? No. 40. Oh, we have 40-year-olds here. I don't know. Does anyone have something to say about maybe some of the causes of teenage pregnancies or early pregnancies? Okay, we have a lot of hands. We'll start with the lady behind here, in the middle. Someone pass her microphone. Yes.
Okay, I'd say one of these causes, you know, like teenagers, sometimes you get misled. And the adolescence period, you try to do things like sexually related stuff that you don't know, and then no, actually, you know, but you're misled.
Yeah.
And then now, not teenagers, even we young ladies and gentlemen who know what we are doing, sometimes you just get overwhelmed, to do these things. Yeah, I'd say basically that.
Thank you so much. Yes. Did you have a comment? Oh, okay.
Thank you. I'm sorry for the situation that is always going on. It is affecting most of us, and one of the things that I've realized is that it is exploration, but it is ignorant exploration. Mostly because small statistics that I've done, I've realized that the ladies affected mostly are maybe approaching 18, 17, towards 20. And it is their first experience. Yeah, most of them, it is their first experience. And to fellow men, sometimes they know that they are experiencing the field. So I would just urge the concerned parties, basically parents and the peers who knows everything about sex, to make sure that people are enlightened. If you want to explore, what are you expecting? Yeah, and which kind of friends do you have?
Thank you so much for your comment. Yes?
Thank you. The biggest concern which I have and contribution towards this is we have a generation which is full of curiosity. And there's a lot of social influence in this, starting from the television, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, everything. And all the adverts that we see nowadays in the television or even the media, it all talks about just sex, nothing more. Be it a certain kind of oil being advertised, it's all about nudity and everything. It promotes everything that we see, and it all relates to sex, nothing more. And so out of personal experience, I've also even seen parents, especially the single mothers, not fathers, encouraging even their young ones that as long as you can get a way of bringing us some source of income, go ahead and do it. That promotes the same. You also find in some scenarios also the kind of environment the child grows up in. Let me start even with our system of education currently. You are not supposed to direct a child on anything to do. In short, they have been given the privilege and the freedom to do everything they want. That also limits us. Even as the outside world, we cannot control them. The moment you try to talk to them about some of these things, it's like you are encouraging them. A child nowadays sees you as a potential boyfriend or girlfriend. Are you seeing that? So the kind of generation we're having today, it's a one which is very, very vulnerable.
Thank you. Thank you so much for maybe one last comment before we continue.
I'd like to talk about peer pressure. You find that sometimes these teenagers, they spend more time with the peers. So the stories that the peers, especially if it's not a group of church, maybe it's a club of dancing and other things, so they talk much of things which are debasing the morals. And so they end up falling in the same trap. Another thing is this education that has been introduced in most secondary schools about family planning. So like, how can a teenage start to family plan? What are you planning? You haven't begun settling down and start up a family, but already you've been introduced to family planning. So these are like, they're trying to teach you that, okay, you can get pregnant, but you can control this pregnancy. It won't happen. And so they just fall into it, but know that, there's something that can make it not to come out.
Thank you all for your comments. And now with all this in mind, why, maybe I'd also want to ask, why do we really address the young girls in this situation and not the boys? Because I believe it's a two-way. You know, if the girl has, but most times, you know, you're thinking about the girls. Society wants the girls. The girls are the ones who are immoral. You know, these young girls. What about these boys?
Thank you. That is a very good question. And I will still just go back to the culture and the way we Africans have brought up our children. Like if I went to a supermarket today and I have a girl and a boy, what I'll do, I'll buy for my boy child, a car. And for this girl, I'll go for a doll. What does that ring in this baby's whatever mind, or in these children's mind? My place is just to bring children on this earth. That is why I'm being given a child. You know, this is where I belong. But this girl, this boy child will now feel like, yeah, this is where I should head to, you know. Basically, we also do not have policies in place that governs the issues around teenagers, especially the boys. You have done it, so what next? Another thing, you realize that it is the girl who carries everything. Because at the end of the day, you may not have money to even do that DNA. And even a DNA has to come, it's at the end of it all. But right now, you cannot just wake up and say, he's the one who impregnated me. He can as well say, no, I saw you with several of them. So maybe it is not me. This could not be my pregnancy. So what maybe I would say is that we should actually have policies also in place that will protect this young, you know, the girl child. Well, you realize that even in our parliament today, such conversations have been coming up. But what do we see? What do you men do? Some of you will grow up to be parliamentarians. What do you say? Are you trying to protect this girl child? Or this is when now you're like, no, we cannot stand in for this. what we want is this. You know, men are always pulling on their side. But should there be a policy actually to govern? I think this will help reduce the early pregnancies. Because if I know that I'll also carry the consequences at the end of the day, I think I'll not be able to go in for it.
Thank you. I want one short comment from a man. Represent your own. Maybe Wycliffe, to probably explain why some of you like to run away from such responsibilities.
Thank you, Caro. I've not run away from anything so far because I've not done anything. I think it's just in Kiswahili they say that majuto ni mjukuu huja baadaye, that the regrets will come later after realizing what you've done, because the Bible tells us that sin is pleasurable, that we find ourselves before we realize the consequences, we are not aware of what happens. So most of the time is that in the wake of realizing now that I'm a man, I have a baby with this girl, I'm not even ready, I don't have a house, I don't have income, I don't have a job, I'm still a very young man. Then I realized that I have really did a big mistake, and if I ran away, then I'm not able to be brought to book to identify. But my cry would be, if any man impregnates a lady, he should be given that lady to be their wife. Then we'll have a reason to
even a teenage boy.
Yes.
Okay. We are going to go for a short break. When we come back, we are going to address now how can we reduce, you know, teenage pregnancies. What are the different ways we can do as individuals, as a family, as a church, as the community? And yes, that's what we're going to address when we come back. Welcome back. My name is Caroline Muche. You are watching The Choice of a Young Voice. We're talking about teenage pregnancies, early pregnancies, and we've addressed some of the causes of teenage pregnancies, but then the question is, how can we reduce teenage pregnancies today? And I think that's where we want to start this session. What can we do as an individual to stop this from happening?
At the end of the day, I want us to bring in the stakeholders in the society, but where we want to begin from is right away from home. Let parents take responsibility of their children. Let us as parents have time to talk to our children as early as possible, so that when this child grows up, or when they reach at the teenage stage, much as they'll be doing whatever they'll be doing out there, but they know that at the end of the day, these are the consequences, and I was told. Yeah? So it is good, let parents take up their responsibility about their children. And we've also addressed the issue of peer pressure. And I think this is a ball that I should throw back to the teenagers. If actually you know that the route that you're taking, because this is a stage that has a lot of conflict. You know, when they arrive at this stage, sometimes it's even very difficult for a parent. I've grown up with my child. I know this has been a very calm, girl all through, but time has come when she is discovering herself, he is discovering himself, and they want to behave like we have grown up. And I'm like, no, if you go this way, these are the consequences. But they feel like, no, we have grown up. Yeah. So at this point, because of the conflict between the parent and the child, what I usually say is that both of them now become mad. Nobody knows the other. Because this child has also grown up knowing ya kwamba, my mom has been very calm, but now she's just becoming so tough on me. You see, nobody is understanding the other. So this is a point where a parent should also understand their children so much. This is when a parent should just be very calm, be patient with them, and talk to them in a very, a way that they should understand. It is because it is at this point also that they don't understand themselves. And sometimes because of this confusion, at the back of their mind, they always want somebody to understand them and somebody to feel like what you're doing is right. As a parent also, grow up with your child. Try to stand in their shoe. Try to relive those years and show them much as you can be here, but this is the way to go. Yeah.
Yes.
Another thing is that let the government about the implementation of sex education in school. I think right now it's beginning at around in class 6 or something like that. So it should be something that should actually be serious. Let the stakeholders come in, the teachers, let them be serious with this sex education in school, so that if this child missed out, maybe at home, is it possible for them to get it in school? Yeah.
And as we continue addressing, now the ways that we can reduce or stop teenage pregnancies today, maybe there could be a question that we could address. Yes, there's a lady behind there.
Okay, thank you. This is a crisis that is all over in Kenya. Teenagers getting pregnant, you go to school, you're chased away. What if in a situation like your parent is now responsible for it? What do? We have seen videos, we've read magazines, you see father impregnating the daughter, and now the daughter is now against the mom like a co-wife. In this situation, what do you do? Seriously, you are dad? How even you begin this?
Well, that is something that I have met in my field of work so many times. And what I want to say is that, I don't know, I want to go back to the parents with their children. Time comes when girls usually get attracted to their fathers. And the boys usually get attracted to who?
Their mothers.
And there's some show that I was watching somewhere, and I think I was impressed. And somebody commented and said that we parents have made our children, sort of the boys, masturbate over their mothers, and the girls are also falling for their fathers. So how do we arrive there? How do we get there? You see, this is a man also who has feelings. Your father has feelings. And when I go back also to the culture, we have parents who are very free with their children, even when they're already grown. You see, if I go and hug my dad, I have breasts, I have, I hug him. He has feelings. Actually, you may just hug him as a child. But when that body comes into contact, there are some things that usually go on. Don't you think, even you people amongst yourselves, when you hug, at the back of your mind, you may not have it, but at the back of your mind, there's something that actually goes on in you, and you feel like, what?
Men, tell
this
us.
Is a man, and this is a woman, isn't it? So it also happens between the father and the daughter. And now, when it goes to extremes, is when we see such things. Her father feels like, hey, this can just be a woman like the mother. And the girl also feels like, hey, I can just be a woman like my mom. Wow. So there's that competition. There's that time, there's that stage when usually there's competition between, a mother and a daughter over the father. And you know also there's that period when there's competition, I mean, over the mother, the father and the son, that, you know,
They want the
yes, they want to be treated, you know, and it is all about the mother. So the thing is about the feelings. So time should come when you as a girl child should know ya kwamba I have to respect my dad. Yeah? You don't have to hug all through, always. A boy child, let them also realize that there's a stage that should come and I should do what? I respect my mom. Yeah? But you see, we are going Western. Everything is going Western. We want to feel Westernized. Yeah? But we're forgetting that we also have our own morals. We have our culture to actually keep. Yeah?
Yes, a question.
Okay, I have a question. We know that communication is very key in our daily life. And there's this situation whereby you can find a girl, let's say over age 17, engaging in early sex. But she knows very well at the back of her mind that afterwards she'll be pregnant. But she's so fearful to share that, okay, to go just and tell even someone, the mom or the dad. But you know, for the guy or for the man, for him, you know, he'll be less worried. Actually, for the guy, it will be like he enjoyed, eh? But for the lady, she'll be worried because of getting pregnant. But she fears to communicate about that situation. Yeah, how can we help such ladies? And then my second question, let's take an example of a young lady who stays with the dad alone. There's no mother, but with the dad alone. And the dad, you know, most of our dads fear to communicate these, you know, the changes that are in their daughters. It's so easy for the dad to communicate to the son, but to the daughter, it's very difficult. And he just leaves this daughter like that. And
To learn
the
by
daughter,
herself.
yeah, to learn by herself. Okay, the dad assumes that as the daughter grows by, she'll get to learn by herself. And this daughter messes. So how also can we help such kind of ladies who stay with their fathers alone?
Okay. Let me begin with the first question. Please come up again.
It was concerning communication.
Oh,
They
yeah.
fail
Oh, yeah,
to
yeah,
communicate.
sure.
Yeah.
Communication. You see, when you have fear, it means that you know the right thing at the back of your mind. Huh? You know you've done something wrong. Huh? And you know, when you do something wrong, definitely you live in fear to do what? To open up and communicate. I think that is one of the objectives that we'll come to, and I hope I'll be able to answer that when that time comes. Huh? But what I want to say about now the other question, we cannot rule out ya kwamba we'll never have single parents, you know, yeah. But if a mother or a father, maybe you have a mother, you have sons, and you know, for a child to actually be complete, there has to be a mother figure and a father figure. So if by any chance you're a single parent, there's nothing you can do about it. So what you do, you can get a friend, maybe who is a man, but I don't mean the friendship as in quotes. You know, just have that father figure, a man who can talk to your child. And you don't necessarily have to tell your child that, you know, I'm getting this man to come and talk to you. No, just talk to that man to come and do what? And talk to your child. And if you are a mother and you have children, I mean, if you're a father, you have a child, a girl child, and you feel like, you know, there should be a mother figure in their life, get a friend who can do what? Talk to your child if you cannot pass this information to
And
them.
I think in such cases, the community and the church also
They
could,
should
could,
come.
could, could have a big role to play.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it is also important, actually, like she has said, the community and the church should come in. And what I advocate is that actually there was this thing, youth-friendly whatever services. We were having them in hospitals and in several areas. But it's like this is something that has been dying slowly. I think because maybe there's no funding or something like that. But if the government could also take this seriously, so that we have several youth-friendly whatever services, whereby these youth, if they fear talking to me, if this teenager fears talking to me as the mother, can also find this service elsewhere. Can go to the youth-friendly whatever for that counseling and guidance, yeah? Yes.
Thank you. Any other question before we move on? Yes.
My question is, sometimes we have those ladies who are just willing to be single and have children. Yeah, basically maybe some of us have met such ladies. So how about that? How can you help them?
They just want to be single,
Yes.
get pregnant,
Or
or get a friend probably. I want your genes.
Yeah, they want your children.
Which is okay. If somebody decides they want to be single and there's nothing to that, it is okay. That is their decision. But in most cases, if you go deeper into those people's lives, you will realize that they've had several heartbreaks in their life. And some of these heartbreaks begin at teenage, whatever stage. So if by 18, I've already had 3 heartbreaks. Because when I'm thinking this is love, to the other person it's just lust. Yeah? Then at the end of the day, I'm pregnant. Yeah? I meet somebody else, I may not actually become pregnant. But within a short period, you know, we had sex and they just left like that. So you've had those heartbreaks, and time comes when you're like, so I cannot trust anybody. Then they just decide to stay single. But maybe they would want to have children.
Very interesting. Thank you. Now, how then, still on how we can help reduce, because I want us to get into now how we treat these young ladies now. You know, that she's gotten pregnant, she's scared of going to church because she knows people will look at her badly. People won't talk to her. Is there something that we do that discourage these young ladies?
Well, I want to say that if there's any of you, if you know any who has already gone through that, you know, there's nothing they can do. They cannot change that destiny. But we only need to accept them just the way they are. Because there's nothing different that has happened. It's just that they got pregnant and they gave birth to a child. And this could be a child who will be a president in future. So let us just accept them and help reduce the stigma. This is when also the church should actually come in. We have elders in church, and people should actually be told that these things, I mean, we are living in a world or in a society where this is not new to us. It can happen to my child, it can happen to anybody's child. So when it happens, what do we do? Do we condemn them? Yeah? And if they are still in school, let them give birth, because I'm happy that the government rolled down the policy that they give birth, they breastfeed, and after around 6 months or 1 year, they go back to school. So when they go back to school, let the teachers also be ready to accept them. And when teachers accept them, even fellow students, it will be easy for them to be accepted and be absorbed back into the society as people who can just be like any other person. Yeah.
Thank you so much. we're going to go for a short break. We will be back. But so far we've talked about the different causes, the reasons why people are getting into, early pregnancies. There are many reasons, and it always starts at home. And even as, this is a show for the young people, this is the time we need to know these things. So when we get our children, we know what not to do. We know that as young people, we need to spend time with our children when we get our children, so that we can reduce this generation. We can be able to reduce teenage pregnancies in the future generations to come. We can stop this from happening. So we're going to go for a short break. When we come back, we're going to still dwell on ways on how we can reduce this from happening, and how we as a church, as a community, can embrace people who are in this situation. Stay with us. Welcome back. You are watching The Choice of a Young Voice, and today we are talking about something very, very serious: teenage pregnancies. And we've addressed so much about this. Now, how can we reduce the stigmatization, that's there? And also, while we were on a break, there are a few concerns that were raised here that you had, and I believe you may be able to address at this point.
The issue of stigma actually has been a challenge, and it continues to bite. And sometimes stigma may be from within, not actually from without. Because where I work, we can have women queuing, being seen by a clinician. And you as a teenager comes, you can imagine sitting in between pregnant women who are 40 years and above, just like me. So to them, that in itself is stigma. So in that scenario, the only way we can reduce stigma in that scenario is that youths or the teenagers should have their own room whereby they are seen and attended to as they leave, so that we are not allowing you to sit with so many older women and you feel like you're out of place, because already you're pregnant and you need the service. And if you're left out, that could just be dangerous to your health and the baby that you're carrying.
And also, addition to that, the question that was asked during the break also, how can you address, accept these young ladies, but in a way not to discourage what they do, so that someone's like, oh, it's easy, I can be accepted, I'm not hated, I'm loved, I can do this anytime I want,
Yes. Let me also bring it spiritually.
Yes.
Before God, we are all the same. And there's no bigger sin and a smaller sin. Sometimes people learn from their mistakes. And when I learn from my mistake, let not other person take it like they did it. And you may not know what much as they did it, and they are back to the society, they've been accepted. There are some consequences that they live with within themselves. There are things that they wish they never did. So I think as a teenager, let us go out with that message. Let me not do something just because somebody else did that. What they are going through may not be the same as what you'll go through. And by the way, it is quite dangerous for you to conceive, or for them to conceive at teenage when they are still growing up. Do you know, in fact, the end of the pregnancy may not be guaranteed. They may die out of giving birth. They may lose this child. It is because And most of them, by the way, they even go through cesarean section. They don't give birth normally. It is because their bones are not strong enough. They have not grown enough to actually accommodate this child. So you never know. This could just be a child that she's carrying now, and she may never carry another child in future.
You have a few seconds. I'd like you to give us just a word of encouragement.
Yeah. So just like I said, before God we are the same, and all is not lost. When a teenager well, it is actually a girl child, because everything is usually put upon them. They are the ones who are discriminated. All is not lost. You can pick up from where you are and move on with life. Of course you'll be pregnant, but you can never be pregnant forever. This child will never stay there forever. They will grow. So as the child grows, also grow out of that, but learn to learn from past mistakes. You know you have a future to live. And like somebody said, if you start, delivering or giving out yourself, I hope you understand, giving out yourself when you're still this young, you may not be able to deliver very well when you're growing or grown up, when you actually now need to be there as a mother, as a woman, and as a wife. So just take care of yourself, because once you're there, you can grow out of that.
Thank you.
And go back to the society and just have life like any other person.
Thank you so much. God bless you. I hope you have been blessed. I hope you have been blessed by this episode. Remember that all is not lost. God loves you, and see you next week.